800-kilogram warhead missiles unleashed, Russia escalates, Oreshnik readied as Europe faces shockwaves. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Global Perspective. On the night of the 15th into the early hours of the 16th, the battlefield in Ukraine was shaken by what is being described as one of the most intense retaliatory strikes to date. Russia shifted from a defensive posture to a wave of aggressive, sustained attacks. Cruise missiles carrying warheads weighing up to 800 kilograms struck strategic targets, triggering chains of massive explosions. The skies over Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Odessa burned red, signaling the beginning of a new phase of escalation. Even as the airstrikes continued, alarming signals emerged that the Oreshnik system had been placed on standby, pushing tensions to an extreme level. This marks a significant shift in how Russia is conducting the war. Decisions from Vladimir Putin are now creating a domino effect, as Europe begins reacting strongly to the risk of a widening crisis. The situation is no longer confined to the battlefield, it is spilling into politics and economics, pushing the entire region into unprecedented instability. Russia fires 800 kilograms warheads, Ukraine's battlefield explodes. The night marked one of the most violent escalations since the start of the year. Russia began with a massive air defense operation, intercepting up to 207 Ukrainian UAVs across multiple strategic regions. The sky was filled with engine roars and fiery trails tearing through the darkness. But this was only the opening move. Immediately after neutralizing the UAV wave, Russia launched a full-scale counteroffensive. Dense volleys of cruise missiles, each carrying 800 kilograms warheads, targeted Kyiv, Kharkiv, Dnipro, and Odessa. Explosions cascaded across cities, creating prolonged shockwaves and turning entire into massive hotspots. These upgraded weapons, reportedly equipped with dual warheads, combine immense destructive power with wide-area damage capability, overwhelming defensive systems. Civilian infrastructure was directly impacted. UAV debris caused fires in residential areas. Casualties began to rise. For civilians, it was a night of sirens, fear, and relentless bombardment. Meanwhile, signals from Moscow suggest this is not the end. Reports indicate that the Oreshnik system is being prepared for potential deployment, a move that could mark a decisive turning point. If activated, it would dramatically increase military pressure, forcing Ukraine to rethink its entire strategic posture. Oreshnik on standby, a turning point strike looms. Military sources are increasingly referencing Oreshnik, not as speculation, but as a system now in combat readiness. Unlike previous strikes, Oreshnik is expected to target rear logistics hubs rather than frontline positions, supply depots, storage centers, and transport lines. This is a strategy designed to collapse the war structure from within. Ukraine would be forced to stretch its defenses, weakening key positions in Donbass. Analysts see this as a calculated multi-layer strategy, combining direct firepower with deep systemic disruption. At the same time, Moscow's messaging carries a clear warning, not just militarily, but geopolitically. By signaling Oreshnik, Russia is sending a message to the entire global stage: it is ready to escalate further if necessary. Even the possibility of such a strike is enough to intensify regional tension. Russia's $700 million economic strike, Europe shocked. Beyond the battlefield, Russia has launched an economic counterattack. Moscow has seized approximately $700 million worth of Western-linked assets, targeting companies connected to Poland and the United States operating within Russia. This move is a direct response to Russian assets frozen in Europe. No longer limited to diplomatic protests, Russia is turning the economic front into a key battlefield. Investments are now at risk, confidence is shaken, and pressure is being pushed back onto European governments. Analysts warn, this is only the beginning. If tensions continue, Russia still holds powerful tools, energy exports, maritime transport, and raw material supply chains. War is no longer just fought with missiles, it is being waged across finance and global trade. Middle East heats up, US and Iran edge toward confrontation. At the same time, tensions in the Middle East are reaching a critical threshold. Negotiations between the United States and Iran are no longer exploratory, they are confrontational. Washington has demanded a 20-year freeze on uranium enrichment, along with the removal of nuclear material from Iran. Tehran has refused, offering only a short-term suspension while insisting on keeping its enriched uranium. Estimates suggest Iran now possesses hundreds of kilograms of highly enriched uranium, enough to drastically alter strategic calculations. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has signaled that the conflict could be nearing a conclusion, while simultaneously pushing for renewed diplomatic engagement between Israel and Lebanon. But on the ground, reality tells a different story. Strikes continue. Casualties rise. Millions remain trapped in the cycle of conflict. Negotiations fracture, ceasefire risks collapse. Leaked information suggests that back-channel talks are facing serious deadlock. Conditions are hardening. Common ground is disappearing. In the Middle East, mediation efforts between Israel and Lebanon show signs of breakdown. One side signals readiness to negotiate, while the other denies any scheduled talks. This disconnect is eroding hopes for a ceasefire. At the same time, US-Iran negotiations remain locked in a dangerous stalemate. Minor concessions fail to produce breakthroughs. Diplomacy is turning into another battlefield, where every statement tests the opponent, and every step forward can be reversed overnight. History shows a dangerous pattern. When diplomacy slows, military escalation accelerates. Internal U.S. turmoil, impeachment shockwaves. Inside the United States, political instability is rising. The Secretary of Defense has become the target of impeachment efforts, facing multiple serious accusations related to handling the Iran conflict and military operations. The political divide is intensifying. Democrats are increasing pressure, while Republicans attempt to defend the administration. At the center of the storm remains Donald Trump. Some lawmakers have even suggested invoking the 25th Amendment, a drastic move that could remove presidential authority. While unlikely, the mere discussion highlights deep fractures within the U.S. political system. And at a time when the U.S. is engaged across multiple global hotspots, internal instability could weaken its entire foreign strategy. A world on the edge, converging battlefields. What we are witnessing is no longer a series of isolated crises. It is a convergence. Ukraine intensifies. The Middle East destabilizes. Europe faces economic pressure. Global tensions are rising simultaneously. Each conflict is beginning to influence the others. A military strike in Ukraine affects European decisions. Those decisions impact Middle East negotiations. And those negotiations reshape global power dynamics. The risk is no longer just escalation. It is miscalculation. And in a world where trust between major powers is nearly gone, even a small mistake could trigger a chain reaction beyond control. Final warning, the edge of no return. No side appears willing to step back. Russia continues high-intensity attacks. The West strengthens support and defenses. The Middle East remains volatile. All fronts are tightening into a rigid confrontation. And in such a system, a single variable, one decision, one misstep, could ignite a global escalation. The final breaking point may not come from a massive event, but from a small spark in a system already overloaded with pressure.